Hey everybody, it's Cozy Manda Panda here, and today for the week of Halloween, I am doing a haunted house. And this house is actually a house that I used to live in with my family before we moved into our own house. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of background about this house and tell you maybe some stories of my time living in this house as I build it in The Sims. And before I start talking about this house specifically, I want you to know that this house was a pain in the butt to build because it is like it's a real house and I can't make everything as perfect as I want to in The Sims. So I can't make it like, I mean, it's realistic as possible is what I'm trying to say. Like it was so frustrating to me because the stairs all kind of curve in this house, and there's actually there's one set of stairs that goes onto the third floor that literally you like open a door and there's the stairs, and I couldn't recreate that. So you're gonna see me kind of get a little frustrated in some parts. You're gonna see me rearrange rooms and sizes a lot, but I loved building this house. I've built it before, but probably not this good. I do love this house. I think it's very pretty, and it has a lot of history, and it's got so much. What's it called when? What's it called when like potential? It has so much potential. It's so pretty. I wish that it was not the way it looks right now. And in The Sims, I went ahead and really gave it new life, I guess I should say, because it is such a pretty, beautiful house, but it is not in good condition. So yeah. But anyways, this house was built probably late 1800s, and from the history that I have looked up about it in the past, and from what I understand from the records that I could find in various places about this specific house, it was I don't know exactly what it would have been called. It would not have probably been called a bed and breakfast, but it was a house for the people on the railroad. There's a railroad, like you could walk to the railroad, but it was for railroad workers to come and sleep, and I'm sure other people did too. So it was somewhat of a bed and breakfast, but mainly it housed railroad workers who would come and sleep for the night and then get up and go work back on the railroad in the morning. Lots of people in and out. And honestly, throughout history, there's been lots of people in and out of it. I know that at one point there was a doctor and his family living in this house. I am not sure if he practiced his medical work here or not, but yeah. And obviously I've already said that it was a bed and breakfast, but I would like to note that I do believe that workers probably stayed on this property because there seems to be some sort of system with the front steps for guests and then the back steps for the workers, and most of the rooms all connect, so it's easy for the workers to make their rounds cleaning and probably delivering some sort of breakfast if they did that kind of thing, which I kind of would assume they did, but I'm not sure. I was not around then. But I know that my town that I lived in, it burned down twice, and this house actually survived the fires that burnt half the town down. And so the funeral home burnt down in this town, and this is something I actually personally researched about this house. And so when the funeral home burnt down, the people who owned and lived in the funeral home at that time actually lived in this house for a little while until that their original location could be restored. And I am not sure if he did any personal like funeral arrangements or what funeral workers do in this specific house. And then there's also currently a funeral home across the street from it. And so and then also obviously my husband's family lived here, and I'm not going to get too deep into his family and his past, but probably lots of abuse, lots of drugs, lots of alcohol. Um, so, yeah, that kind of stuff is not good and attracts evil things to come. And then also, there was lots of people. The mother was kind, and would let mothers and children stay here for very cheap, and just it was kind of like somewhere people could go if they needed help. I'm not sure how many men she allowed, but I know I'm sure there was a few. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but lots of people in and out is what I'm saying. And sometimes people bring their own baggage in situations like that. So yes, this house is one of the scariest houses that I've ever been in, that I've ever lived in. My friend's house was extremely haunted growing up, and this house is nothing in comparison to that, because this house just, honestly, I feel like it takes everything, and it just is, it's got a lot of evil in it. It's been through it. I don't know what it is, but it has definitely been through it, and you can feel it as soon as you walk in the door. I remember the first time I walked through the door of this house, I was with a friend, and we were going to hang out with my husband and some of his friends here, and it felt very heavy, and me and the girl literally stood in the front for a little bit, like, oh, we both felt it. And so, but we stayed there, we hung out, and obviously things escalated because I lived there with my husband, and so over time it just became more prevalent that this location and house was just not good. And you couldn't go anywhere at nighttime in the house without feeling like someone was watching you. It was very eerie, and for me it started with like, so I've had lots of like sleep paralysis in the past, but I noticed as I got older, specifically from like living in my house, when I got older it really slowed down, because I think it happened more when I was younger. But when I moved here, that started up again, but like worse than it's ever been. And I know sleep paralysis can be like your hallucinations essentially, but sometimes I don't even think I was in sleep paralysis. I was just too scared to move because this was real. Sometimes I do think it was sleep paralysis, like just a hallucination type of thing. But I mean, almost every night there was something in the corner of the room watching me and my husband sleep. I remember one night, and this was early on, my daughter is sitting up in her bed, because she used to sleep in the same room as us. But my daughter's sitting up in her little toddler bed, and I wake up and I just listen to her for a second because she's talking to someone. And I don't think she remembers this. I just don't ask her about it. But she was talking to someone, and I waited a second, and then I shot up and I was like, who are you talking to? And she was like, she looks over at whatever she was talking to, and she looks back at me, and it's almost like this thing said, don't tell her, because she was like, no one. And then told me to go back to sleep, and I was terrified. And I know kids have imaginations and imaginary friends, but this just was not that. I was very scared. And so I would see stuff in the corner of the room. There was one night me and my daughter both saw the same thing in her closet. So there was this closet that you'll see it. I actually made it like a seance room, but there's going to be a bedroom and then like this closet that connects to the seance room in this build that I did. And she had the little seance room as her bedroom. It was not a seance room, it was just a little kid's bedroom, because we eventually cleaned that out and moved her into that room so me and my husband could have privacy. And she told me the next day that she saw glowing red eyes in the closet, and I saw glowing green eyes that night. I never told her that I did. I don't even know if I've told her yet, now that, it's been years later and she still talks about it. But I saw the same thing but different colored eyes in the same closet and the same night. So we both saw something. And then oh goodness, I get like, I don't know, I get like, I guess, anxious in a way when I talk about this kind of stuff. So another thing that happened to me was one night I don't think it was nighttime, actually. I think this was like the middle of the day. But I was in the kitchen and I was doing dishes, and I heard a woman singing, and I was like, yeah, what? And I was alone in the house at the time, and if someone was home, it was most likely an older man, and he doesn't sound like a woman when he sings. So I was doing the dishes, and I don't remember if the window was open, but I remember I was like, so like, it was right there with me that I was like, there's no way. I went outside the back door, because you'll see later that the kitchen kind of leads to this mud room, and then right out that side door. And I went out that and was literally like, hello, like, is there anyone out here? And there was no one out there, because there is like an alleyway towards the one side of the house in the back, that's like behind these different buildings that are on like a little strip, because it is part of like the town, where it's like the town hall area and like the police station. Like, there's just like little residential business things that way. So no one was out there, and that freaked me out, and so I just go back inside and forget that it happened. And then the scariest thing that ever happened to me in this house, and I actually have a TikTok about it, but the scariest thing that ever happened to me in this house was I was grabbed. The back steps were always the scariest steps to go up, because when you walked in the front of the house and went up the front steps, it just felt like someone's eyeballing you and like staring you down. But when you went up the back steps, it literally felt like not only were you being stared at, but something was right behind you. And I hated that feeling so much. But one day I'm going up those steps and something grabs my ankle, and if you ever come across the TikTok about this, you'll see me kind of show how it felt, because I have nails in the TikTok, and it literally feels like nails lightly grasping my ankle, and it grabs me, and it's very light, and it's like I'm gonna like scrape my nails against my desk so you can hear like how it was just so light. It was like, and I didn't like that. Obviously, I didn't make that noise against my skin, but the way it just felt like little nails grabbing my ankle, and I knew it wasn't human, but I think in the moment, I wanted it to be so bad, because I turned around and went all the way back down, because I was like halfway up these back steps. I turned around and went all the way back downstairs and was like, who's messing with me? Like, because there were two other people that lived in the house, as well as my husband. My husband was at work. My kid was probably upstairs, because I was coming from the kitchen, because I only used the back steps when I went down to the kitchen, because it's right there. Yeah, so I was grabbed. One of the most terrifying experiences of my life. No one was down there, no one was around. I went back upstairs calmly, and then went in my room and closed the door and cried, because I was scared. It really did me in. And back to the build real quick. I'm not sure if I said this earlier, but I did kind of make this house nicer than it is or was when we lived in it. Right now, and kind of when we lived in it, the front room is filled with junk. The dining room's okay. It's still got lots of stuff in it, but the family room that I made that you're gonna see, that's off the bathroom in this build, it was a bedroom that the mother used, but I wanted it to be a family room, because that's what it would have been back in the day. Like, essentially, I furnished this to be kind of similar to how it would have been furnished if it were lived in. I don't want to say properly, but if it were, lived in and furnished for an older time. So there would have been the formal living room, which is in the front, and then the regular living room. Sorry, I'm laughing because I went from a horrific story to me talking about how I furnished the house. Anyways, back to the spooky stuff. So, another story I have is also about my daughter. I used to pick my husband up early in the morning for work because he worked overnight. So I would get my daughter up and we would get in the car around 4 in the morning. I know it's early, but we were used to it. It was fine. So I would get my husband, or get my daughter up. We'd get in the car and we'd drive. And one day, I was like, tell me a story. I asked my daughter to tell me a story, and so she tells me a story about her imaginary friends. Now, I knew she had imaginary friends, and I really never thought anything of it, because, like I said, kids have imaginary friends. And so she tells me a story about her imaginary friends. I remember their names. I remember the story very perfectly because it was terrifying. I was like, where did this little girl, she was like 2 years old. So where did this little girl learn this? It was terrifying. I was terrified. So we're driving and she tells me about her imaginary friends, Kayla, Casey, and Kosin. And Kosin was a boy, and then the other two were girl imaginary friends. And so she tells me that Kayla and Casey are best friends, and they sometimes play with Kosin. But Kosin is mean, and Kosin ended up killing one of the girls, and the other girl was like sad about it, but still stayed friends with Kosin. I'm gonna assume because she's freaking scared of him. What? And so she just tells me this whole long story about how they're friends still and blah blah blah. And I was like, what? I was like, where did you learn that? She was like, Casey or Kayla, one of the girls, told her. And I was like, that's when I realized that these were not imaginary friends. I don't know what these were, but it was terrifying. And so I'm sitting there talking to her. I'm like, what does Kosin look like? Like, have you ever seen him? Oh, he's like really tall. He's like a tall man. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, how tall? I'm like, she was like, oh, like really tall. And back to her talking to things in her room, like that one night that I woke up. Well, she also used to just talk to things in the corner of her room. Imaginary friend, that's what my brain goes to. No, I'm pretty sure she was talking to this tall man, imaginary friend thing, named Kosin, because she used to look up in the corner of her room and talk to something. I'm pretty sure this was this weird entity thing, because I don't think that's an imaginary friend if he's telling her. I don't know, it was freaky. I don't know if anyone can agree with the sentiment of this weird imaginary friend thing, but that is what happened. Freaked me out. I don't like it. So yeah. Another time I'm sleeping in bed and this little black face pops up next to my face, and I can see it right out of the corner of my eye, and I was kind of scared to move at first, and it stayed there for a second, and then I turned my head really fast and it bopped back down, and then like I got my phone, turned on my light, was looking all down there, and there was nothing there. That freaked me out. I'm telling you, there was just so much. And so also there was this one time my mother was over, and I used to always walk people down, walk my friends down, walk my family down, especially when they were leaving at night, just because it was creepy, and most of the time they wanted me to because they were scared, quite honestly. And so I didn't walk my mom down one night because I was pregnant and I was tired, and so I just wanted to lay in bed, and I don't even think she got halfway down the steps and calls me, because she was like, I know this sounds really weird, but I'm just like freaked out. I feel like something's watching me and like doesn't want me here. And I was like, oh. And my mom is not a like, I don't know, she doesn't do stuff like this. She's not easily scared. She doesn't think about that kind of stuff at all. My mom doesn't have a lot of paranormal history. She doesn't have a lot of like things that scare her. She's not really like, she's not like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, she doesn't experience stuff like that. And so for her to be that scared and kind of like experience something like that, it was just so weird. And I know she remembers, she's kind of like, yeah, that was just really weird. And she's not had a lot of stuff happen to her like that before, and I don't know since, but yeah, whatever it was, it made her feel like it did not want her there. So much stuff in this house that happened that it was just, I mean, it was terrifying. It really, really was. I mean, I like to stay in my room. I got excited to leave. I would go anywhere to get out of this house, and the day we moved, I was so happy. I had just had a baby. We moved like a month after I gave birth, and we've stayed in the same house that we moved into. We have not experienced anything since we left this house. My daughter, my oldest daughter, has not said anything about these her imaginary friends stayed at that house. So that was another like dead ringer, that she did not have imaginary friends. She was speaking to things. I don't even want to call them ghosts because I don't know, but she was speaking to stuff. And it was scary. Like terrifying scary. So yeah. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video so far. I hope you enjoyed my haunted and scary experiences that I experienced in this house. I hope you guys like this house. It will be on the gallery under Cozy Manda Panda. It is haunted, but I think it would be also really cool if you changed it to a rental lot, because the way I have it set up is that you could honestly use the whole downstairs as a shared spot, and then kind of use the different rooms as rental bedrooms. So yeah, you could turn it into your own bed and breakfast if you wanted. But right now I have it set to a haunted lot. I have it set unstable so you can play through, the haunted house thing. So I also wanted to mention one more thing. My sister and I did a video on her page, and it is actually a walkthrough and an Estes method session of us being in this house. I personally revisited this house, and we decided to do an Estes method inside, and we also did a tour of the house. So if you like this and would like to see how the real house actually looks at this time, you can absolutely do that over on her page. I will link her page in my description below. Also caught some really spooky stuff on our Estes method portion of the video. We heard a lot of things that we did not hear with our naked ear. So if you guys like that kind of spooky paranormal side of things, that will be on her page. I hope you guys enjoy this. I am gonna have one other spooky, scary build this week. It is not one I've lived in, but it is a recognizable one. I'm gonna let it be a surprise, but yeah. So thank you for watching this. I'm gonna play music for the rest of the video, but I will see you in the next one. Have a great, happy Halloween. Bye.